Well, hello, my friends. I'm glad that you're here. Thank you for joining me for yet another topic and some points and tips to help you create more connections in your relationships. So, today I want to talk about conversations that we might have with friends, coworkers, neighbors, loved ones, all of the above. And right when we have conversations with these people, we're doing that because we want to connect with them. We want to feel like they're part of our lives. We want to feel like they can help us and we can help them. It's kind of like that cohesive relationship that we want to experience with people in our lives. And so I want to talk about 3 different topics of conversations that we might have in our lives and ways that we can approach it and how we can use it so that we can come out better on the other side and what that might look like for you. I don't know if you've experienced it before, but I have, where I have a conversation with somebody and maybe I'm the person that's having the conversation with them, and I say words and I say things that aren't the best of me, and I walk away and I feel terrible. I feel like, oh, that was not a good conversation. That was very unproductive. I don't feel good. I don't feel good. I don't feel like that was helpful for me at all. And I'm sure the other person feels that way too, that it wasn't helpful for them. Have you ever walked away from a conversation where you felt that way? Or on the other end of it, where you had the conversation with somebody and you walk away and you're like, ew, I feel really bad for them. Like, I don't know if that was even helpful. I kind of felt dirty about the conversation, like maybe we shouldn't have been talking about those things. And if you've experienced that as well, these are some tips that can help you so that you have the conversation with somebody and you feel good about it. You feel clean about the conversation. You feel like you are purposely having that conversation and you are purposely connecting with them. So the first conversation I want to talk about is when we are having problems and obstacles in our lives. Because, right, we want to share with our friends and family and people that will listen, and the relationships we have, our problems and our obstacles. Like, we want to say, hey, listen, this is what I'm going through. This is the problem I'm having. This is the obstacles. I'm not sure how to overcome this. So what I want to recommend is when you share your problems and obstacles is when you begin to let them know that, hey, I just want you to hear me out on these problems and obstacles that I'm experiencing in my life. I want to express them to you, and I really want you to just listen. And then it might be appropriate to say, when you're done listening, I really would love to be able to hear some strategies and some possibilities that you might be aware of, some resources that you might be able to give to me, something that you've done before in the past that might help you, that helped you, that could help me. So I really would love to use, this conversation as a resource and something that we can start to create the possibilities and solutions that I know are out there, but right now all I'm seeing is the problems and the obstacles. So when you state it that way, then you're letting the person know that you're having the conversation with, this is what you're looking for, this is what you're wanting to get out of it, and it kind of sets the groundwork, right? So that you can start to connect to that person, they can connect to you, and then you both feeling as though the conversation is a good conversation, that there's something coming out of value in it, and that you feel like you're connecting with each other, and it's just a bigger purpose and a bigger picture for both of you. The other situation I want to talk about is when we get into the mindset of blame and victim. And we just want to blame other people for things that are going on in our lives, that we're the victim, that this stuff is happening to us. I know that that is something I experienced many times in my life, is that I wanted to blame everybody else for things that were going wrong in my life, and that this is happening to me, that I don't deserve this, that this doesn't need to happen to me. So what I want to suggest is when you're feeling that way and you're wanting to share that with a friend or a coworker, let's say it's a coworker, a boss, because that's happening at work, right? You're feeling like you're the victim here and that you are experiencing blame, or you're wanting to blame other people, whatever that looks like for you. What I would recommend is in that conversation to state that, okay, I'm feeling like, there's some blame I'm putting on other people. There's some victimhood that I'm sharing, that I'm experiencing. And I really want to search some emotions that I could be having and some thoughts that might generate that so that I can get through this. So I can get on the other side of this, because I don't want to stay in victimhood and blame. It it doesn't feel good here. I know that I'm feeling this right now, and I get it, and I want to be able to put it out there, but at the same time, I'd love you to be able to maybe give me some ideas on some thoughts that might be more beneficial to me, that might help me find the other parts, might help me see that there's another way to view this. And then some emotions that will give me strength, that will help me see that I can overcome, that might give me courage so that I can go move forward with this. So that is another scenario that you might have, that you could create that conversation with somebody in your life. The third one that I want to talk about is storytelling versus gossip. And that one is a little bit more interesting to look at. One thing about gossip that I always found is that when somebody would share with me something that was gossipy, my thoughts were, I hope they don't say that about me. Like, if I share something to them, do they gossip with somebody else? Especially if it's information that maybe they shouldn't be telling you. That's kind of how we feel sometimes at in that stage. Or it could be gossip where I know I've done it before, where I gossip about somebody, and then when I leave, I'm like, that was really wrong for me to do that. I shouldn't have said those things about that person. That's, they're going through a hard time. I don't know why I was doing that. That was not right of me. And so gossip kind of gives you that dirty feeling when you're talking. And that's a really good sign to know that you are kind of in that gossip field versus telling a story. Now, telling a story, you're not going to be, wanting to hush about it and say something. You're just telling a story. So there is a different vibe between telling a story and gossiping. And that is going to be up to you to kind of create more self-awareness around that and say, okay, am I gossiping? Or am I telling a story? Am I just telling a scenario that was maybe funny or surprising or a difficult story, that had happened? Whatever that is. Am I saying that, or am I gossiping about something or someone, or sharing information that I shouldn't be sharing? So those are things that you can kind of wage for yourself and decide before you share that story instead of deciding to share gossip. So those are three different, conversations that we can have with friends and loved ones in our lives and coworkers, and different ways that we can approach those kind of situations so we can create deeper connection in those relationships. Now I want to share with you 2 tips that could help you in the verbiage that you say in any given conversation. And there's just a little tweak that I want to talk about. It's just kind of a fun little thing to share, and I wanted to share with it at the end of this video since we're talking about connecting. One of the things is that I've heard a long time ago, and it was called reversing your butts. You might have heard it. And I want to share with you a couple of examples about what that would look like. So here's an example. My son is a great kid, but he is so lazy. If you decide to reverse the but, it could be, my son is lazy, but he's a great kid. Here's another example of reversing a but. I love my husband, but he just doesn't listen to me. So you reverse it. My husband doesn't listen to me, but I sure do love him. Another example of reversing your but is, my boss tries to be friendly to everyone, but he talks way too much. My boss talks way too much, but he tries to be friendly to everyone. When you reverse the but, what happens is that you are creating the energy of possibilities of the things that you like about them at the end of it, and not the things that you don't like. Because what happens sometimes is what we end on is what the laundry list in our head becomes. Like, then we think of, oh, and they don't do this, and they don't do that, and they don't do this, and they don't do that. But if we finished on something that we do admire or like or appreciate about them, we go, yes, and they do this, and they do that, and they do this, and I love this. Do you see what I'm saying? So when you reverse your buts, you actually create that energy about why you do love the people in your life, why you do appreciate them, and it creates more energy of abundance in your life. The other one I want to talk about is reversing or with and. So a lot of times we'll think we can have this or we can have that. It could be we can have this and we can have that. We could go, this is right or this is wrong. We go, this is right and this is wrong, because there could be 2 sides to every story. The more we invite "and" into our lives instead of "or," the more we see that there is more ways to look at it than just one way. And again, that's creating awareness around our relationships in our lives, around the conversations that we have with people. Because when we have these conversations with people, we are inviting energy into our lives. Whether we are aware of it or not, we are. And when we become more aware of it and we start to create connections in those relationships, we start to create relationships on purpose. And we show up in ways that are authentic to us and purposeful to the relationship. And that, my friend, is a beautiful thing. All right, I hope this stuff was helpful to you, and I look forward to sharing with you some more information next week in my next video. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.